Questions for Coach Babers?
Alex, John, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Alex is talking about, to him as a lineman, weather doesn't matter at all, being indoors this week. But I got to think that being indoors lets you do a lot more things that you want to do with the passing game. Because like the Toledo game, for example, you couldn't throw deep because the wind was so unpredictable. Does the comfort of being indoors, is that going to help your team execute better, do you think, or it's not a factor?
Well, I think if you have optimum weather conditions, that's the best conditions for offense all the time. I think it's one of the reasons why, the Super Bowls normally played in warm weather. That was one of the things about last year when they took it to the cold weather site for the very first time. I'm sure it had an effect on the game. But as football players, we're going to play outside. We're going to play in whatever the weather is. And we would like to think that it doesn't control the game that much, but I'm sure it controls it a little bit.
What's the state of the team right now? They feeling good? A little lull, and then coming off a 2-game win streak. Last year they had a 4 or 5 game win streak coming into this game. What's kind of the mindset right now?
I think they're a little disappointed. We had a big loss, and you got to put a light on that. And we need to recover because we've earned the right to play in this championship game, and we really need to put all 3 phases together and put our best foot forward.
If you go back to the Ball State game, Coach, you've had a chance now to look at the film. Will you talk a little bit about the areas that caused your team to struggle?
Enthusiasm and effort. Okay, you have to respect the game. You need to play the game with the right enthusiasm and the right effort, and I take full responsibility for that.
My team looked like last year's team?
No, it looks different because they don't have that Heisman Trophy quarterback, but yet record-wise and the things they're able to do on offense and defense, they're just as effective. I mean, this is a team, and I'm not absolutely correct with the numbers, 5 to 6 times in a row they've gone back to the championship. That's not an accident. That's being consistently good, not occasionally great. And anytime you have a program or organization that can do that year after year after year, they have a fantastic foundation and they breed winning within their program. So there's no doubt that this is going to be a difficult task.
What's your take as a head coach of a team that has a chance at, was it 24 teams in the FCS playoff versus this format at the FBS level?
It's really different. It really is. And the playoff is interesting. I'm not sure you could pull it off from an academic standpoint at our level. But on the FCS level, it's the truest way to crown a champion. Weather really comes into play there because you don't get host venues, and you bid for home games, and whether you take a team from the south and play up in Montana, or you take a team up in Montana and play down in the south, it makes a difference in the game. But if you're a good football team, you can overcome a lot of things.
What's the difference academically at that level versus here?
Well, academically, they get started earlier.
So why not?
Well, you would have to kill a lot of games here. Like this championship Saturday game that's coming up. If you stop right there now, you've started a 24-game playoff. We may go all the way into January something or other, and you're already in the 2nd semester of school from the very first semester. It has to do with the academic calendar.
Going back to James for a second, your level of confidence in him going into this game?
The same as any game. High.
And the reason in your eyes for that confidence?
He deserves that. Okay? He's earned that right.
Is the leash any shorter now than previous weeks?
You know what? It comes down to what's happening on the football field. Are you able to control what's happening on the football field, or you're not? Head coaches and quarterbacks sometimes they get blamed for things that are not their fault. We understand that's part of the roles of having those shoes. But I think a lot of those things that happen on the football field, a lot of things that people think is just the quarterback's fault, there's other reasons for it. So that position is totally judged by the head coach based off of how I believe he's playing, not necessarily the way everyone else thinks he's playing.
Coach, how is James, confidence-wise? I know you guys haven't practiced that, but I know you've been able to look back at the tape. So how has he been confidence-wise the past week and a half?
I think he's good. Obviously he felt like he could be playing better in certain situations than what he has, but I think he still has a lot of confidence, and I think he still has a lot to give this football team.
Going back to, obviously you faced Northern last year, early last season at Eastern Illinois. advantages to either side because they've seen your system, you've played them and seen their systems?
It comes down to matchups. And matchups come with the personnel that you have. At Eastern Illinois, we had a second-round draft pick that's playing behind Tom Brady. So, obviously we wanted to throw the ball a lot, and wherever he threw the ball, it ended up exactly where he wanted it. So that's a big advantage. And we were playing at their place, couldn't hear. There was a lot of things that went on in a game like that. I don't think that game really transfers back to having advantage here and now. You got to take the players that you have, you got to plug them in the right holes, and hopefully from an offensive standpoint, you find a way to come up with points. From a defensive standpoint, you take the personnel that you have and you try to find a way to slow down the other people's top personnel so that you can keep the point total low. And then between coaches, you got to play chess. You got your opening moves, and you got to make counter moves to those moves, and hopefully when the game ends up, you made more right decisions than wrong. So I think every game is totally different. Every season is totally different. It is good that I know a little bit about Coach Carey, but Coach Carey knows a little bit about me, so that kind of balances it out. And now it comes down to the players. When you get to a game like this, the last thing you want to do is win the game. A coach is not going to win a game like this, but a coach can lose a game like this. And you want to make sure that you give the young men an opportunity to win the football game. So we're crossing our T's or dotting our I's, hopefully putting those guys in good positions for them to make plays. And the teams that make the most plays with the least amount of turnovers is probably going to win the football game.
You watched last year's game, and obviously you talked about the result. Do you expect that they will use revenge, having a chance to right a wrong, as motivation?
I don't even use that word.
Do you
I
expect
hope
that they
not.
would?
I don't know. I really don't know. I look at it as they had an opportunity to win last year, and for whatever the reason was, they didn't. I'm sure there's some guys that would like to beat Bowling Green because they didn't beat them last year, which is okay. I don't know if it's revenge. It might be a little strong. But I also know that this is different. Different coaches, different players. Everyone says there's a lot of the same players. I look at it, and I think there's more players missing from this contest than were actually at this contest last year. And there's more new players plugged in that's going to have a positive or negative effect on the game than people are really putting a spin on it, so to speak. I don't really think they're really looking at it with open eyes. So there's a lot of new players in this game. They're going to have a huge effect, and I think you need to play the game totally separate and not tied into anything that happened last year.
Talk about sensing a little bit of disappointment maybe in the guys coming off last week. Do you feel that sets them back at all heading into this week, or do you kind of use that as motivation to move forward?
They better be a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed. Our family's a little bit disappointed. You do wrong with the family. You're not going to just walk in there and everything's going to be great. We're going to sit you at the table and give you some Kool-Aid. It's not happening. Okay? They better be a little disappointed by that. Now, once that's done and once we've talked that out, so to speak, now we need to rebound, we need to come and play. Show what kind of character we have. Okay? It's not about what happens when you get knocked down, what happens when you get back up. And let's get back up and fight.
Quote of the day.
Okay. That's the 1 minute bite. What do you guys say, medium?
10 second bite.
Good, guys?